Hello, my name is Alicia McDaniel, and I'm the co-founder of Virtual Gallery Online. Today, we are meeting with Kiana Honarmand about her recent installation, Before We Were, which is currently exhibited in the project space up until October 14th. Thank you so much, Kiana, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, both in the gallery and also today. I'm excited to be talking to you.
Yeah, thank you. It's always a pleasure working with you.
Likewise, likewise.
Let's just jump into the questions. So I understand that the two films that you're exhibiting in VGO, Ab and Requiem, are the beginning of a larger body of work. And I was wondering if you could tell us more about this ongoing project and sort of how it started.
Yeah, sure. They are a part of a larger body of work. So far, these are the two videos that are completed, but I'm hoping to make more videos, and also maybe someday, hopefully, I'll get to create a large installation as a result of the final project. But this body of work kind of focuses on the topic of immigration and the stigma around it through the lens of different elements. And then the first video that I did for the series is the one that's titled Op, which it's a Persian word that means water. And it was inspired by both my experience as, an immigrant, and also kind of started or was influenced by the limitations that were happening during COVID, and especially like the lockdown, where we had lost access to everything. And the past year and a half, almost 2 years at this point, it's been a very uncertain time for everybody, but I feel like it's been even more challenging for anyone who's going through an immigration process, because there's just a lot of uncertainty around those issues. There's been multiple times that they're like, different laws are changing, and I sometimes wonder if I'm going to wake up tomorrow and there's going to be like some new law out of like nowhere that's going to change my life somehow. And at the same time, when we were in lockdown, I had, we all had lost access to a lot of this tools that we're using for our studios. And I was thinking about this concept, and I thought maybe video or any like time-based media like performance might be a good way for me to explore this topic for like the storytelling purpose. That kind of led to me like exploring video a little bit more. And that's how the whole project started. And I remember I was reading this book that was called How to Do Nothing, which has nothing to do with the subject, but there was this part that the author talked about how water is an immigrant, and that sentence really resonated with me, and I was thinking about it a lot, and I wanted to do something with it. And being so close to the ocean in the Bay Area, we're just all can just drive like an hour, and then the ocean's right there. And it's been such an inspiration for me and for this project. Every time I go there, I feel like my family is like across from the ocean. It's the thing that separates me from my family, but it's also at the same time the thing that connects us. So it's like a very emotional place in a way. So that was another thing that inspired me. So I started working on Op, the first video, and then that's how the whole series started.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was very beautiful, about all of us being connected through these elemental forces that are larger than all of us.
Yeah.
And, I'm very familiar with your other work, so it's really great to see you exploring more of this digital media. And I know it probably came from this push, this shift from working in the studio to maybe working at home or working in alternative spaces from afar. So yeah, I think that it's really magical what you're doing with this medium. And
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I think it shows like your ability to kind of adapt. I think that there's a lot of resilience in your lived experience, as a woman of color and an immigrant. And I think also a lot of resilience in how you interact with your art making practice.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah, I mean it. Yeah, so with that said, do you see your work as being autobiographical?
Um, I have to say yes. I think most of, well, not only these pieces, but most of my work, some in one way or another, has to do with me. I feel like a lot of times what really pushes me to like go to studio and make something is something that's like happening to me or around me that is affecting me. That I'm just going to studio to think about and to process, to analyze, and trying to kind of deal with what's happening. So a lot of the work is the result of that. And in this particular case, it's been kind of around the same issues that I've been living with. Like I've been living in the U.S. for over 9 years now, but it's been a very like the entire like immigration process has been very challenging. And the very difficult thing about it is that it's not equal for everybody. You're being like from the Middle East or the Swana region. That's just like a whole other weight that's put on you, because there's just a lot more like screenings and whatnot, as everything takes like 10 times as long. And also like being already like being an Iranian woman, I feel like we already suffer so much because we're always like treated, even like when we're in our own country, there's just so many laws that are against us. But then when we come here, there's also like a whole other set of like biases that are against us. So it just feels like you're living in this body that's always like ignored or like mistreated, if that makes sense. So to me, like this like process of like how where we come from, the whole idea of like geography and borders has been so like affecting my life. And I think a lot about how just because you're born on a like in a place, it's the thing becomes the thing that defines you, even though that place, literally like that piece of land has been like changing and moving like throughout history. It's just a piece of land. And yeah, so I'm just really interested in all of these ideas.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And we owe on this planet, owe it to migration and immigration. Being a second generation Mexican American, I owe it to my ancestors and my grandparents for for my existence. And just like I think we owe the earth and water and sort of the elements. And I think similarly, I didn't mean to get onto the subject, but I think that environmentally, I'm thinking about the negative tolls that are being placed on Mother Earth and sort of our surrounding environment. And I think a lot of conversation around that is shifting, hopefully in a positive way. Yeah, so I wasn't intending to ask this, but I guess I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I haven't really made any like work about environmental issues, but I totally agree with all of this. I think what we're doing is really ignoring all of these things that since our beginning have given us life. And it's kind of gonna be our doom if we keep doing this.
Absolutely. And yeah, so yeah, we touched a lot about the recent, pandemic, or the pandemic that's still ongoing, and sort of the outbreak, and thinking about shelter in place. You mentioned that this had like a significant effect on your work, and I guess with that, I was wondering, I noticed that you're still producing a lot of work, which is really fantastic, and I think that's really something that can be really cathartic and really healing for a lot of creatives. And I'm just thinking from personal experience, it can be hard to kind of keep the artistic process going, and sort of it can be challenging with so much outside, so much chaos and so much uncertainty around us, to keep making work. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that and any advice for people who are maybe struggling to make work right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it's when you're, living in the middle of a pandemic with so much uncertainty, sometimes it's really, really challenging to be doing anything or making anything. And there's also like this, we see like this little small like snapshot of what people post on social media of like, and you think that everybody's like, oh, always productive and always doing things, and you're the only one that's not. And I feel that's at least how I felt. But then I talk to other people and I see that a lot of people are struggling with similar issues. So I think talking with other people always helps. And I feel like sometimes I don't know, like it hasn't felt like that I've been making a lot of work, but I guess when you step back, you look, oh, maybe I did some things. But I guess just like for me, it's been the best thing that's helped me has been like um it's fine. Like sometimes we forget that it's okay to just like play in studio, just try like and not be super focused on, oh, this is the final result that matters. So just like the process, sometimes it's like way more important. And especially when you're thinking about when you're doing something that's like cathartic or healing. And I think I've been just trying to kind of focus on the process and not like care so much about the final results. If it's bad, it's bad, or if it's not, and not, it doesn't end up being what you want, it's totally fine. I'd say just don't be hard on yourself and just enjoy the process. It's okay to like make something that you don't end up liking. Because if something that also has stopped me sometimes is like, oh, this isn't working, I should stop. But it's fine because then you're learning something from all the things that didn't work. I don't know if any of that made any sense.
Oh no, I did, and I agree with you. And you put it really, eloquently. I think it is important to learn from our mistakes, and also like, it's so silly. I've been seeing so much TV, but thinking about like, Bob Ross, the painter, just sort of, the happy little accidents. There's no mistakes, and I think that's just to say like what you just said. It's a silly way to summarize. That mistakes help us. Things happen, and I think as long as we learn from them and we do what we like, and sometimes accidents can be really helpful. It can work in your favor.
Yeah.
I had in grad school, I started gluing stuff to my studio, and I had this weird breakthrough, and I I was just gluing.
That's awesome.
Thanks. And I think that it's important to embrace failure for sure.
Yeah.
Really
And also it's important to just rest sometimes if you feel like you're burnt out or you're, you're trying to process a global pandemic, for instance. It's fine to take a break and, just trying to take care of yourself first. I think that's something that we artists typically try or don't do. We're not good at taking care of ourselves.
No, it's so hard, especially with like this capitalistic brain of just like I have to be productive, I have to do X, Y, and Z to be, maybe useful or maybe a hard worker. And it's like, that's not supernatural.
I feel like people shouldn't be like putting their value, like the only thing that's valuable about you is not the work that you do. Like
Exactly.
yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that's a lot for me to think about. Thank you.
No,
And
thank you for asking all of these great questions.
yeah, I guess the final question, it's the last one. It's just you mentioned you were speaking with other artists, which is great. And yeah, I was wondering how you were able to stay connected to your community, during this strange and social distance, moment.
Yeah, so I feel like one thing that really like helped me was just like to reach out to people and just, hey, how you doing? And then of course, to see if they want to talk, or just have a like small studio visit. And sometimes if people are available, everybody's always, you know people always want to like talk if they can. So that was really nice. And then we also had or we still do have like a virtual like group of that we do like critiques, and it's called Crit Society, and we'd love to have you there soon. And it was another like really nice way to not only just like keep a conversation going about art, but also meet new people, because we would ask around, hey, do you know an artist who'd like to join us? Somebody would introduce us to a new artist, and we met people like from around the country, even like in other countries. So that's been really nice. um yeah, so I think, just I don't know, I know people are so burnt out from using Zoom all the time, but it's less than ideal for sure, but it's something to just be able to like talk to people and see what they're up to.
Thank you so much, Kiana. Yeah, I'll be happy to plug in the Crit Society information in this blog post. And yeah, I think it is important, even though we're doing it on screens, I think it is important to be, in a similar space, even though we're
Yeah.
not physically there. I think it is important to show
Yeah.
support for each other. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm excited to share that. Yeah, so I guess with that,
Thank you so much for having me in the gallery and here today.
thank you so much, Kiana. This has been great.